Hey everyone, A Million Card Tricks here. So yes, I'm back. I've returned from the dead. Well, no, I wasn't actually dead, but I was a college student, still am a college student, working towards my degree. So that was the reason why I was gone for so long. I just got really focused on schoolwork and I just didn't have enough time to focus on YouTube and card tricks. But since it's the summertime, I thought what better time to start recording some new videos for you guys. And I have some really great tricks to show you, including this one that you're about to see in just a moment. So let's go ahead and get right into the performance. Alright guys, so today I'm going to be showing you a really cool looking trick, and I have my lovely assistant Sam here to help me out. Are you ready for this trick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright, so before we start, just give it a quick shuffle, just like this, and I do actually need the help of two special cards. So those two cards just so happen to be the two red kings over here. We're going to set them aside for now, but I'd like you to cut the deck in half anywhere you like. Because these two kings are going to be placed in either half of the deck and they're going to remain there for the rest of the trick. So which half would you like the kings to go in?
This one.
Okay, perfect. So the kings will go right here, and that means you can take the other half, give it a shuffle, mix it up as much as you like, but these kings over here, I'm just going to take them here, and what I'm going to do is place them face up in the middle of this pile because I want you guys to see them for the entirety of the trick, just like so, all right? And they're just going to remain here for the entire trick. So you shuffled this pack, right?
Yep.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is have you actually select a card out of here, anyone you like. Go ahead and take a look. All right, you got it?
Yep.
And before I do that, I just want you guys to see these are all different cards and everything. Okay, so go ahead and place it back anywhere you like. Doesn't really matter. Okay, perfect. And I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a quick mix up here. It doesn't really matter, but did you actually want to shuffle the cards too? Because I know some people want to shuffle the cards, but I actually wanted to mention what these kings were here for. It's because I actually think that the kings have this special power. They're going to find your card. I'm actually not going to be the magician in this trick. The kings are going to do all the work for me. So you see the kings in here, right? So watch, I'm just going to square up the cards like this.
Yep. And
you might be thinking, how are the kings going to find my card when my card is all the way over here? Well, it all happens with just a snap of the fingers. What was your card? You can say it out loud.
Jack of clubs.
Jack of clubs. Go ahead and take a look in that pile. You can spread them out on the table and see if the Jack of clubs is still in there.
There's no Jack of clubs.
And I do not see the Jack of clubs anywhere in here. It's because I said that the kings we're going to find Sam's card, right? If we just spread through here, you'll find one card sandwiched in between the kings now, right over here. And wouldn't it be incredible if this card right over here, what was your card? Jack of clubs, right over here. The Jack of clubs. And that's the trick. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and if you did, be sure to stick around for the tutorial. Alright guys, so here's the tutorial for the trick that you just saw. So this is actually an impromptu trick, but in the performance I did do a little bit of a setup just because I wanted to do this production with the two red kings. So the only setup that you would need for this is you need the two red kings on top, one face up and the other one face down on top of it, just like so. This is the starting position, and then what you do is you can shuffle the cards, just keep those two cards on top like this, but then whenever you're ready, you're gonna say that you need two helper cards, and those two cards just so happen to be the two red kings. And all this production is I'm just dribbling the cards like so, and then I'm going to be holding back the last card and letting it flip around with my fingers like this, just letting it flick off the thumb and letting it flip around my fingers, and then I drop the card back on top. Spread the cards off and drop them on the table and say we'll get back to these cards a little bit later. So the next part of the trick, you need the spectator to go ahead and cut the cards in half anywhere they want, let's say here, and then you tell them that the two kings are going to be placed in either one of these halves, and that choice is up to the spectator, so they can choose whichever half they want. Let's say they want the kings to be in this half over here, and then you tell them that the other pack, they can actually go ahead, take it and mix it up as much as they want. While they're actually shuffling those cards, you're going to be loading a secret card in between the two kings and then placing those cards in the middle of the deck face up. So how you do this is you're going to begin by kind of just showing the kings off here while they're shuffling the cards, and you're actually going to be catching a pinky break right here underneath the top card, and this is going to be the card that you're going to load in between these kings. You're going to be placing the two kings on top of the card with this pinky break, and then you're going to lift up all three cards together, and then you're going to peel off the first king, leave it squared up with the deck, and before you actually place the second king on top, remember this is two cards back to back, you're actually going to use your fingers here to hold the back card in place while you slide forward the the king to be squared up with the rest of the deck. So now there's actually going to be one out-jogged card kind of held with your fingers here. But then once it's out-jogged, you can kind of let your fingers go. All you do is you leave your fingers here, you place the king about halfway squared up with the other king, and then you're gonna push it forward and leave that card out-jogged because it's being held by these fingers over here, just like this. And also one very important factor in this is you have to keep your fingers at this point in front of this card. And now you can slide the king back and your fingers here are going to be covering the out-jogged card. That's the reason why they're in this position. And now once you're in this position, you are going to undercut about half the cards with your pinky from the bottom to the top, just like this. And you're gonna leave them squared up on top. Basically cutting those kings into the middle, but this out-jogged card is going to remain out-jogged the entire time. And at this point, you're in the position for one of my favorite sleights, which is called the side angle jog concealment. And what that means is you're gonna spread the cards out from left to right, and this out-jogged card that's currently in between the two face-up kings is going to be hidden by the spread because it's out-jogged. So you'll see what I mean. You know that this card is in between those kings right now, but watch, when I spread the cards from left to right, it looks like those kings are next to each other and that there's nothing in between them. And this is the illusion that you want to present for the rest of the trick. And you're gonna leave this image here on the table for basically the entire time because you want the spectators to believe that the kings are just there in the middle of the deck and there's nothing in between them. So once you've done that, the spectator has been shuffling these cards the entire time. So they've just been mixing these cards, and now you are going to let them choose any card that they want. And you can do this in a multitude of ways. One way that I actually didn't do in the performance, but I might actually do in real life, is I would actually have the spectator shuffle the cards and then they can actually go through and pull out their own favorite card if they want. Let's say they want to use the 10 of clubs. So that way it seems like a completely free choice, because in the performance I just spread through the cards and had them pick any card. But this way you can actually have the spectator pull the card out themselves, and that way it can feel a little more personal and maybe they'll have an easier time remembering the card. Once they've chosen a card, it doesn't really matter what the card is, as long as it's from this packet. All you're gonna have to do is control this card back to the top of the deck any way you want. So I did this in the performance by having the spectator place the card back in the middle, and then I kept a pinky break, just like so, halfway through the cards. And then what I did was I dropped little packets of cards until I got to the break. So now I've reached the 10 of clubs. And then at this point, I split the cards in half, and then I drop my left hand cards first, and then my right hand cards last. And what that will do is it will actually control the 10 of clubs back to the top, even though it looks like I'm just kind of making a mess of the whole thing. So I have my break right here. I'm gonna just take little packets off onto the table, split, left hand, right hand. And that controls their selection back to the top. And now at this point, I asked the spectator, do you actually want to shuffle the cards? Because I know some people think that I'm not really shuffling the cards. As I'm saying this, as I'm asking the question, I'm getting my hand in a position to do a one-handed top palm, which will essentially palm the top card off of this, because I'm going to be stealing this card out before I actually hand the packet over to them. I have made an entire video on this move, so go ahead and check that out if you have no idea how to do this. But yeah, this is just one of my favorite ways of stealing a card out of a pile. Once you palm the card, you're gonna hand this over to the spectator, and immediately after, the next part of this trick is you explaining what these kings are here to do. They're gonna be finding your card. This is the perfect time to drop this card onto the pile, because you're gonna be doing this natural motion here as you are explaining these kings. So what I do is I hand the spectator over the pile, and with my palmed card over here with my hand and my left hand that's empty, I'm gonna place my hands on both ends of the pile. And what I'm gonna do is this, I'm just gonna give them a little tap like this, and I'm gonna say, I actually forgot to mention what these kings in this pile here are actually for. And then in that motion, I've actually secretly dropped this card, which is their selection, on top of the pile. But it just kind of looks like I'm here, and I'm just kind of explaining what I'm gonna do with these cards. It's just a natural motion when you're using your presentation and you're talking about these kings and how they're gonna try to capture your card. It just looks very, very natural. And also, the spectator's not really going to be looking at you anyway, because you've just handed them this packet and now they're going to be shuffling the cards. So all their attention is really going to be in their own hands by shuffling these cards. So at this point, the trick is almost over. There's really only one more thing to do, but you're gonna explain right now that the kings are going to try and find their selection. And you tell them, so take a look, you see the kings right here face up in the middle. They say yes, and now all you're gonna do is slowly square up the cards. It's very important that you do this slowly, because you want them to remember this image of the two kings next to each other in the middle of the deck, because in a moment, it's gonna look like pure magic when you snap your fingers and you re-spread the cards and you now see one card that the kings have now magically captured. Now, the order of events, it's up to you of how to present this next part. In the performance, I actually saved this for later. First, I had them name the card, which would be the 10 of clubs in this case, and then I snapped my fingers and I said, look, the 10 of clubs is no longer in this pile, and I had them spread out the cards in their hand, which they believe the 10 of clubs is still in here, and they confirmed that the card is no longer there. And then at this point is when I spread the cards out, revealing that card in between the two kings. So it's up to you to when you want to reveal which part, because there are kind of two reveals here. There's the card disappearing and there's the card appearing. I kind of personally like this order of having the card disappear and then appear, because then it keeps the mystery alive. So at this point, the trick is very close to being done. You just have one more part to do, one more sleight. So you're gonna pick up the pile with the kings and the card, showing that this card is in between. You're just gonna square up everything and spread through until you reach the two kings, and you're gonna out jog this middle card. Now, of course, this card is not the spectator's card. This is the random card that we loaded in before. You're gonna have to be doing a switch in order to switch out the spectator's card for this card, and we all know that the spectator's card is currently on top. So one of my favorite ways to do a switch is this one over here. I kind of hold a break on the top card, and then I ask the spectator what the card was once again, and all I do is I do two moves at once. I push the card in with my fingers, I turn my wrist outwards like this, and then I use my thumb to pull out the top card. And if you do those three things kind of simultaneously, if you do all those things at once in a fluid motion, you go push, turn, pull, it looks like you're actually pulling out the card that was in the middle of the deck. But in reality, you're actually pulling out the top card. So once again, at full speed, it looks something like this. So you show the card in between the kings, you square it up, and you show the card that is their selection. So that's one way to do it. But I know that some of you might have questions like, wait, that's a cool switch and all, but now the spectators can't examine the cards because there's still a card in the middle, which is true. So that is one way to do the trick if you don't really care about the spectator examining it. If you do want the spectators to be able to examine the cards, there is another way to switch out these cards. So how to do the reveal in this case is I would pull out the card and I would actually physically remove it. And then at this point, I could do either a double lift like this, so I could show the spectator's card, or I could do a top change as I kind of spread out the cards like this, showing the spectator that the kings are here, and then the spectator's card is in my hand. There's just many different ways to reveal this trick in the end. So you guys can be creative, but go ahead and choose whichever one you're more comfortable with. I actually personally prefer having the card be in between the kings like this, and then you do this switch. I think it actually looks the cleanest. There's no real heat on the kings at this moment in the trick, so it's really not that important to worry about because all heat will probably be on this selection. But yeah, that's essentially the entire trick right there. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you did, be sure to stick around because I will have more videos coming out soon. So stay tuned for those. So see you guys next time. Bye.